Hey Monica, today I really wanted to explore the idea of being just sure enough. Um, there's this scene from The Incredibles where Helen, aka Elastigirl, calls her husband Bob, aka Mr. Incredible, on the phone and tells him it's time to celebrate because after several years of being in this current home, they finally have unpacked the last box. Today, that was that day for us. My husband came to me and with a series of books, and he said, these are from that box in the garage, and I knew which box it was. It was the last unpacked box from our move, which was over 20 years ago. So great cause for celebration. But things we hadn't looked at in 20 years, we probably didn't even need to open it up. But out of, morbid curiosity, what was in that box? Well, it was a series of books. And most of the books were long past and expired, and I could tell just by their covers that they weren't things I ever wanted to look at again. But there was one book that caught my eye, and it was this one. It is the textbook that I had from a graphic design course I took at the community college in the spring of 1998. And I had taken that course along with a few other courses because in the fall of 1997, I was feeling very stuck and depressed in a job. And I had applied to lots of other jobs and I hadn't heard back from them. And I just felt like there was nowhere to go and nothing to do. And I was really, really, really unhappy with where I was working. And just the way the office and the people were and how that company ran. I just didn't want to be there. I didn't feel good about being there, but I felt like I didn't have any choice. I felt stuck and I felt like there was really no way out. And then, my husband came to me and he said, we both have jobs. So we can afford to live off of just one of those if you want to go back to school, which was not even something I had considered until he said it, because I felt like my only options were the job I had or a different job. I was so sure that I had all of the options I had that I didn't even realize there were options outside of what I had considered. That was a huge epiphany, and it was a huge opportunity, and it opened up this chance to get out of this really depressed and really sad place. And I was able to explore the option of doing graphic design for a semester, and then one of those places that I had applied to called me back 7 months later and offered me this really fantastic opportunity. And so then I went back into the world of writing again and had a really good experience with that company after that. But I was just thinking, as I'm holding this book and I'm looking at it, there is maybe a sense that I'm not sure enough what I want to do with it. There's, because don't want to hang on to stuff that I don't need, but I don't want to cut myself off. So, as much as I was too sure that I didn't have a way out of that job in 1997, at this point, I'm not sure enough what I want to do with this book. And I think, isn't it interesting that the amount of sure that you need in order to move forward with your life is not up the extremes on the pendulum, but it's not too much and not too little. It's the Goldilocks zone. It's just right. And so for me, in order to get some closure on this book, I'm giving myself a certain amount of time to either, you know, commit or quit. And I gave myself to the end of the day to really start, and I spent several hours just reading it, saying, do I care enough to keep this? I'm not going to put this on the shelf to just, consider for a while, but I'm actually going to say, I'm going to decide today whether I'm going to go back into this book and relearn all this stuff that I thought was really fascinating 20 years ago, or I'm going to donate it and it's going to go off into the world and I'm going to pick a different path. There are so many things that we are left unsure with, that if we just pick something and move forward, that's great. And then there are some things that we're too sure about and we forget there are other choices that could actually help us to move forward. Really, it's about moving forward, isn't it? Is there a sureness Goldilocks zone for you, and when have you run into that? I'll talk to you next week.